are back. Hillary Rodham Clinton is here. The documentary Hillary. It's 4 parts. It drops tomorrow on Hulu. Behind the bar, we've got the director, Nanette Burstein, and our Queen Testants, Trinity the Tuck, the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 4, Alaska, the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 2, and Peppermint. Her show Nubia debuts in New York City March 5th and 6th. These are real, like from all over the country, like queen of the crop of the crop.
Yeah.
Queens. I wonder, from the documentary, was the footage of your life is extraordinary because you've lived an extraordinary life. Was there something that you saw in the doc that you had either forgotten about or surprised you that you were like, wow, that's cool to see?
Two things really come to mind. One was some of the very early footage that Nanette found. You know, some of the old movies that were taken when I was just a little kid. I had not seen those before. And the other was when I was fighting for healthcare reform, I was actually burned in effigy, and she has the video from people burning me in effigy because I wanted to get our country where it should be, which is providing healthcare for everybody. And so yeah, that was a bit of a shock too.
Speaking of your thick skin and responding to the video of you being burned in effigy, how do you keep yourself together when, I mean, when Donald Trump is leading thousands of people saying, lock her up, that would hurt a normal person. Where do you find the strength to kind of just keep going forward?
Well, you know, I've learned over the years, Andy, to take criticism seriously, but not personally. And by that, I mean, if somebody has a legitimate critique, I mean, you've been in this business, you know, if somebody says, hey, you could do that better, or why did you do that when you could have done that? You want to learn, but you don't want criticism to just bring you to your knees. You don't want it to, you know, tell you to keep your, you know, stay in bed with the covers over your head. So that's how I've basically done it. But I have a great group of friends, my family, you know, people who support me. So I've been really given that gift over the course of my life. So even though I've taken on some hard things and been, you know, knocked down a few times, I've always had people around me that, you know, loved and supported me.
One thing that really kills me, and I was talking to Nat about this before the show, is that it seems like people on the left can't say anything, and some people on the right can say absolutely anything, and it doesn't matter how offensive. It's such a crazy. What do you make of that?
Well, I do think that there's a lot of double standards in our politics, and I think when it comes to insulting people, it's kind of baked into what currently is the accepted political rhetoric on the right. You know, that's really what Trump understood. He understood that he could attack and insult and demean and hate, and that the people he was trying to get to vote for him, and still is, would think that was him being authentic and not, quote, politically correct. I think it's being rude, and I don't think it has anything to do with authenticity. But some people feel that, and so he plays to it. Whereas, you know, I think we don't want to hurt people's feelings. You know, we don't want to be unnecessarily, you know, virulent and nasty toward people. And so, yeah, I think we kind of hold ourselves and hold those who agree with us politically to a different standard.
Let's go to Dana from Philadelphia. Hey, Dana, what's your question?
Hi, Secretary Clinton. What's your number one biggest regret you have from your time as First Lady?
Do you have any regrets from your time as
You know, I try not to have any regrets. I try, if I feel bad about something, I try to figure out if there's a way to make it better or to fix it. My biggest regret, though, from my time as First Lady is that we weren't able to get universal health care. You know, quality, affordable health care for everybody. That was my biggest regret.
And do you think that the country was not ready for you to be leading that?
I think it was two things, Andy. I think it was a bit of a shock to the system that I was asked to lead it. But also, as we're seeing now, I mean, people are very wrought up over health care, about their own health care, about what happens, how much it costs. And there is a lot of very powerful interests that don't want any change because they make a lot of money from the system.
And by the way, there hasn't been any change since.
Well, there's been, no, that's not.
No, I mean since the last election.
Well, since the last election.
And that was such a big issue.
It was a huge election, but a huge election about health care. But look at what they've tried to do. They tried to repeal the Affordable Health Care law that Barack Obama got passed. And they're going to do that if they get to stay in the White House and if we don't take back the Senate and have a Democratic president. They're going to take away the health care that we currently have.
By the way, you were so, what I found so interesting looking back on your career in the documentary is that you worked on Nixon's impeachment.
I did.
So then you had such interesting insight when your husband was going through the Michigas. And I wonder, what do you think of Ryan Murphy now doing the miniseries about impeachment for American Crime Story? And who would you want to play you?
Oh my gosh, I have no thoughts on that. Look, the impeachment that I was actually a lawyer on back in 1974 was merited. It had all the constitutional and legal requirements. And I think it's important to really focus on what impeachment should be as opposed to how it's sometimes used and misused. And I thought that the House impeaching Donald Trump was also constitutional and legal.
All right. Carrie F. wants to know if you think we'll ever see Trump's tax returns. And if you had to bet, what do you think he's hiding?
Well, I hope we will, because there actually is a law that if the Congress asks for them, they're supposed to be delivered. So I think it's tied up in the courts. Look, I think he's hiding a bunch of things. I think he's hiding that he's not as wealthy as he claims to be.
Right.
He has been not only not charitable, but he now is prohibited from having a charitable foundation because he used it for personal and political reasons. I think that he has probably a lot of funding from suspect sources that would be shown in his tax returns. So I guess I think it would be just a cornucopia of information about, all of his claims to the contrary.
Let's go to Liza from Austin. Hey, Liza, what's your question?
Hi, Andy. First, let me say you and your son are just gorgeous. And
Thanks.
thank you for giving the LGBTQ families a voice.
Thank you.
And I'm so honored to ask a question to Madam President. Thank you. Let me just say thank you for giving all us the inspiration to fight and advocate for our communities. So here's my question. Who do you think did the best job impersonating you on SNL?
Oh my God, you had you had Jan Hooks.
Right.
I mean, from the day.
From the very beginning.
This is every incarnation.
Obviously, I thought they all did a really good job, but probably Kate McKinnon and Amy Poehler were the ones who I thought really captured it. And when I went on SNL, I was so surprised that they could literally take an outfit you were wearing 24 hours before and make it,
Yeah.
and so that the person playing you would be wearing it. So I did a little bit of a double take. It was like, I didn't know.
That's amazing.
Was that me or was that somebody else?
When you were in the White House and they were all over you when you were in the White House, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you watch? I mean, on a Saturday night, and you're at Camp David with Bill. Would you turn on SNL or?
Yeah, not every.
Right.
Not every time, because there was lots of other stuff going on. But yeah, from time to time, absolutely.
And how did you keep yourself together?
I think it's funny, and again, it goes back to when somebody's making fun of you, what can you learn from that? So I like watching it.
Okay. Well, you've lived a life like no other, and if the rest of us are going to have any hope of being half as successful, we're going to need your help. It's time to learn the HR secrets to success. What is the most meaningful praise or compliment you've received from a public figure?
Great job. You nailed it. Thank you.
Best risky decision you've ever made?
Personally, marrying my husband.
Wow. Most surprising or enlightening part about participating in the Watergate hearings?
What I learned about our country, the law, the Constitution, and how it worked back then, because people actually paid attention to the evidence, and Republicans voted to impeach then President Nixon.
As a mother, what lesson are you most proud of teaching Chelsea?
That, you've got to be both brave and kind, and don't ever forget that.
Other than your iconic human rights or women's rights and women's rights or human rights, do you have a line from a speech that you're most proud of?
Well, human rights are gay rights, and gay rights are human rights.
I love that. Back in 2004, you were in a vodka shot drinking contest with the late, great John McCain. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your ability to hold your liquor?
10.
All right. The documentary is called Hillary. It's 4 parts. It drops on Hulu tomorrow. I want to thank you, Mrs. Clinton. I want to thank you, Nanette Bernstein, and all of our queens. For more, click around BravoTV.com. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Watch more clips here and subscribe to our channel here. See ya.